You haven't spoken to them in 3 days. Not because of anything they said, not because of a fight, or a betrayal, or even a misunderstanding. You're angry at them because of a conversation that took place entirely inside your own mind. You imagined what they would say if you brought up something vulnerable. You scripted their dismissal, their eye roll, their cold, measured indifference, and your body responded as if it had already happened. Your chest tightened, your jaw locked. A heaviness settled behind your ribs, the kind of ache that lingers for hours after the simulation ends, like an emotional hangover from a fight that never took place. And by the time you actually saw them at dinner, you were already defending yourself against an attack that never came. Maybe you know this feeling. Or maybe you love someone who disappears like this. Someone who goes cold without warning, who seems angry at you for reasons you can't trace, who reacts to things you never said. This is case file number 2. And the evidence might be the most unsettling thing we've examined yet, because the crime scene is inside your own relationships and the perpetrator is your imagination. Let me show you the evidence. Evidence A. You wake up at 3 a.m. with your jaw clenched, your chest tight, furious at someone who is sleeping peacefully in the next room. They have done absolutely nothing wrong. But inside your head, they already left you. They already said the worst thing. They already proved that you were right not to trust them. Evidence B. You rehearse a difficult conversations so many times that when you finally have it, you don't respond to what the person actually says. You respond to the script, the one you wrote for them, the one where they're colder, crueler, more dismissive than they've ever actually been. Evidence C. You pull away from people who love you, not because they hurt you, but because in the courtroom of your mind, they've already been tried, convicted, and sentenced. The verdict was guilty, and they never even knew there was a trial. There is a name for what's happening here. Psychologists call it affective forecasting, a term coined by Dr. Daniel Gilbert at Harvard. It describes something extraordinary and devastating about the human brain. Your mind does not distinguish between predicting an emotion and actually feeling it. When you imagine someone rejecting you, your prefrontal cortex activates the same neural pathways that would fire if the rejection were real. The pain is genuine, the anger is genuine, the grief is genuine, but the event never existed. Your body doesn't fact-check your imagination, it simply reacts. And that single glitch in your wiring, it has done more silent damage to your relationships than any real betrayal ever could. The evidence trail leads somewhere most people never think to look. Because the damage isn't just inside your head anymore. It's leaking into the spaces between you and the people you love most. And to understand why, we need to examine 3 causes, each one deeper, each one older, each one harder to look at directly. The first cause is filed under distant past, the house where you learned what love looks like. Attachment theory, the framework developed by John Bowlby, tells us that the way you experienced care as a child doesn't just shape your personality, it programs your nervous system. If you grew up in an environment where people were unpredictable, where love was conditional, where someone could be warm at breakfast and explosive by dinner, where abandonment came without warning, your brain learned something dangerous. The only way to survive is to simulate the worst before it arrives. The mental rehearsal didn't start last week. It's a survival protocol that was installed in childhood. You don't rehearse because you're neurotic. You rehearse because at some point in your life, not being prepared cost you too much. The second cause is filed under recent history. The relationships that left marks you can still feel. Clinicians use a term called emotional residue, the idea that intense emotional experiences leave a deposit in your nervous system that your brain projects onto future situations. Picture this. You're sitting across from someone new, someone kind, someone who has given you no reason to doubt them. They reach for their phone mid-conversation, just to check the time, and something in your stomach drops, your shoulders tighten. A voice in the back of your mind whispers, "They're already losing interest." You've seen this before. You know how this ends, except you haven't seen this before, not with them. What you're seeing is a ghost, the outline of someone who left, someone who checked their phone the same way, right before they checked out of your life entirely. The gesture is identical. The person is completely different, but your nervous system doesn't read names. It reads patterns. Someone betrayed you. Someone abandoned you. Someone made you feel invisible at the exact moment you needed to be seen. And now your brain uses every new relationship as a projection screen for that original wound. The person standing in front of you is not the person who hurt you, but your body doesn't know that. It sees the same shape. It feels the same threat. And it reacts before you've had a single conscious thought. If you're starting to realize that the person you've been arguing with all week doesn't even know there's a fight happening, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Quiet Psychology, because the part that comes next might change how you see every relationship you've ever had. The third cause is filed under the present tense, the architecture of a mind that simply cannot stop modeling other people. Premack and Woodruff first described theory of mind, the cognitive ability to understand that other people have thoughts, beliefs, and intentions different from your own. Most people use this ability passively. It runs quietly in the background, like peripheral vision. But some minds don't just understand that others have thoughts. They try to predict those thoughts with exhaustive precision. Every silence gets interpreted. Every micro-expression gets decoded. Every delayed text message gets fed into a simulation engine that runs non-stop, generating scenarios, assigning motives, building cases, and the emotions come along for the ride, not as side effects, as the main event. You don't think and then feel. You feel first, intensely, overwhelmingly, and your brain translates that flood of feeling into thought because thought is the only processing language it knows. This brings us to the final piece of the case, the evidence I'm about to present. It's personal. The world has 3 things it loves to say to people like you, and all 3 of them are wrong. The first myth: you're creating drama where there is none. The truth: you don't create drama. Your nervous system is trying to resolve a conflict before it arrives. Because the last time conflict arrived without warning, you didn't survive it unscathed. This isn't drama. This is the emotional vigilance of someone who was caught off guard one too many times. The rehearsal isn't performance. It's armor. The second myth: you just need to learn to trust more. The truth: trust is not a switch you flip through rational decision. For a brain carrying the emotional residue of betrayal, telling someone to just trust more without processing the original wound is like asking someone with 3rd-degree burns to embrace fire again, because this time will be different. Trust isn't the starting point. Safety is. And safety takes time that most people aren't patient enough to give. The third myth: stop overthinking. You're sabotaging yourself. The truth: you are not thinking too much. You are feeling too much, and your brain translates feeling into thought because it's the only processing language it has. The emotional intensity comes first. The mental loop comes after, as a desperate attempt to give shape to something that hurts too much to simply feel. Telling you to stop thinking is like telling someone drowning to stop splashing. The splashing isn't the problem. The water is. So, the verdict of this case file comes down to one question that nobody has ever asked you directly. Are you reacting to what this person actually did, or to what you imagined they would do? Because one is a response, the other is a projection. And the distance between those two things is where your relationships go to quietly die. I need you to hear something. And I need you to hear it without your defenses up, without the part of your brain that's already preparing a counter-argument. You are not crazy. You are not dramatic. You are not too much. You are a person whose brain learned to feel the future before it arrives. And that is simultaneously your heaviest burden and your most extraordinary gift. This pattern you carry, this relentless forecasting, this emotional time travel into conversations that haven't happened yet, it didn't come from nowhere. It came from a version of you that needed it to survive, and that version of you deserves compassion, not contempt. The fact that you feel this deeply about people who haven't even done anything yet, that's not a malfunction. That's a nervous system that cares so intensely it would rather hurt in advance than be caught off guard by the real thing. But the gift only works if you learn to separate the signal from the ghost. So here are 3 tools, not platitudes, not just think positive, real protocols for a real mind that works this way. If you are this person, first, the origin test. Before you react to anger, ask yourself one question. Am I reacting to what this person said or to what I imagined they would say? If the answer is the second, the emotion is real, but the trigger is not. Pause before you act. Sit with the feeling for 90 seconds. That's how long it takes for an emotional impulse to peak and begin to fade. 90 seconds between the forecast and reality. The feeling deserves acknowledgement, but the person in front of you deserves to be judged by their actual words, not your prediction of them. Second, the residue protocol. When you catch yourself projecting old pain onto someone new, name it. Say it out loud if you have to. This is residue. This person is not them. This situation is not that situation. It sounds simple. It's not. The first time you do it, your body will fight you because your nervous system doesn't want to let go of the alarm. But naming the projection out loud forces your prefrontal cortex back online. It doesn't erase the pain, but it jams a wedge between feeling and reaction, a tiny gap, just enough to choose differently. Third, the daily acquittal. At the end of each day, sit with this question for 60 seconds. Was there someone I judged today for something that never happened? Run through the faces. The coworker whose tone you interpreted as dismissive. The partner whose silence you read as withdrawal. The friend who didn't text back and was already halfway out the door in your mind. If any of those verdicts were based on the script you wrote and not on what actually happened, let them go. That person deserves to be known for who they actually are, not for the version your fear constructed in the dark. And if you love someone like this, the next time they go distant, the next time they seem cold or already wounded by something you never said, don't ask, what did I do wrong? Instead, try this. Hey, it seems like you're carrying something heavy. Do you want to tell me what's going through your head? No judgment. I'm here. That single sentence can disarm years of internal courtrooms. You have spent your whole life inside a tribunal that never closes. You've been the judge, the prosecutor, the defense attorney, and the defendant, all at once, all day, every day, presiding over cases involving people who never knew they were on trial. But tonight, for the first time, I'm asking you to do something that might feel impossible. Stand up from the judge's chair, remove the robe, turn off the fluorescent lights. Walk out of that courtroom, because the people you love are out there, outside that building, waiting, not the edited version of them, not the ghost your fear constructed from worst-case fragments, them, the real, imperfect, trying their best, still here version of them. And they're not waiting for your verdict. They're waiting for you, the version that's still learning that not every silence is a threat. Not every delay is abandonment, and not every I need space is the beginning of the end. Lock the courtroom door. Not forever, just for tonight. and go find the real version of someone you love before the ghost you built replaces them completely.